Sports Talk back another video today, and today I'm going to be doing my college football week 7 rankings predictions. What a crazy week of college football. I mean, my goodness. 4 out of the 11 top teams in the top 11 lost in this week. You had Alabama losing, you had Tennessee losing, Missouri lost. It was a crazy week. Also Louisville lost. They're not in the top 11, but they were in the top 25. UNLV lost. It was a crazy week. It for sure was. Michigan lost as well. I forgot to mention them. USC lost to another team in the top 11. They were exactly number 11. So, 4 huge upsets. And that doesn't include Louisville or UNLV, 2 other teams in the top 25 losing. All right. So to go over it, honestly, to be honest, I've done these throughout the entire season, every week. And I honestly think this is the hardest one so far because, we've seen some big upsets, but I don't think we've seen this many. You have the number 1 team in the country losing. Then you also have 10 and 11 losing. And then you have number 4 losing. You have other situations where other teams lose, like UNLV and Miami. You have a boatload of teams in the middle on the bye. You also have a situation like with Miami where, yes, it was a great win for them to come back with the way they did, but another game where they play very poorly for most of the game. I think this is the hardest week I've had to predict, and let's go over it. Now. All right, here are my top 25 rankings. So out of the top 25, UNLV, Louisville, USC, and Michigan. Then not making it, I think an honorable mention is Vanderbilt. It's not often you see a 3 team get into the top 25. So obviously, yeah, that's the one reason I don't think it's going to happen. But the way they went out there and beat the number 1 team in the country, I don't know. It wouldn't hurt to put them at 25, but I think it's very unlikely to see that happen. But man, that was a great win for them, beating Alabama. Pittsburgh, Army, Nebraska, Texas Tech, or some of the other teams I don't have making it. Texas Tech didn't receive any votes last week, but it was a great win against Arizona. The team that had the most votes last week had like 106 votes. They beat them on the road. Texas Tech's now 5-1. Nebraska, it was a good win. They're 5-1 now, but they weren't great offensively. Dylan Raiola wasn't great. Army on the other end looks really good. I just don't know if they get in. Pittsburgh, there were some struggles against North Carolina. It's possible one of those teams could get in, like maybe Pittsburgh, maybe Nebraska, but if it was up to me, I don't think they should be in. Because here are some of the teams at the beginning of the 20s that I think should be in, starting with number 25, Arkansas, 4-2, previously non-ranked, beat number 4, Tennessee, 19-14. Tennessee, one of the best teams in the country coming into this game. They were one of the 4 FBS schools not to trail this season. But Arkansas had a tough matchup in this game and still were able to go out there and get a win. Last week, they nearly went into Texas A&M, or the game was in Dallas, but, that is, even though that is a neutral site, there were more Texas A&M. That's like another road game. It's just not at Kyle Fieldhouse. But nearly beat Texas A&M, fighting their lives. Arkansas, for them to go out there and beat a top 4 team in the country, and for them to have a 4-2 record, I think they should be in the top 25. And then I'm gonna have a similar thought to the next team, and that's Washington, another 4-2 team. It is possible you could see a 4-2 team in the top 25. I think Washington deserves to be in. They beat the number 10 team in the country, Michigan, 27-17. That's a hard defense. And, with losing so much talent in the draft this year, they still were able to score 27 points against a Michigan defense that, even though their offense hasn't been too bright this year, they still got a good defense. I mean, so give them credit. That was a really good win by Washington. They should be in the top 25. At 23, I got Illinois. They're 4-1, preseason number 24. They had the bye week. 22, I got Missouri. They're 4-1, preseason number 9. Lost to Texas A&M 41-10. That was a bad loss. That was a really bad loss. And it doesn't help them that in the 2 previous games, it was close nail-biters against non-ranked teams, Vanderbilt and Boston College. I know Vanderbilt just beat the number 1 team in the country, but at the time, Vanderbilt wasn't looking too good, and Missouri, went to double overtime with Vanderbilt at home and beat Boston College by like 2 at home. So I don't think Missouri shouldn't even be in the top 15 anymore. I mean, the only reason they're staying in the top 25 is because they still have a nice record at 4-1. But it might not be long until Missouri's out of the top 25. All right, at 21, I got SMU, 5-1, preseason non-ranked, beat Louisville. Great win to win 34-27. Absolutely great win. Jennings had an unbelievable performance, their quarterback. Great with the pass and rush game. SMU is going to be in the top 25 for sure. At 20, I have Kansas State, 4-1, preseason number 20. 19, I got Oklahoma, 4-1, preseason number 19. They had the bye week just like Kansas State did. 18, I got Utah, another team with a bye. That's what I was talking about with all the teams in the middle with the bye week. At 17, I got Boise State. They're 4-1, preseason number 21. Beat Utah State 62-30. I think Boise State deserves to jump Utah since Boise State just beat Utah State by 32 when Utah had some trouble going up against Utah State. 16, I got Indiana. I think it kind of helps them out with all these teams losing. There are still quite a bit of undefeated teams left. You still got Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Miami, and Iowa State. But outside of those teams, I mean, there's not a lot of undefeated teams. BYU, forgot to mention BYU. But in the top 25, not a lot of top 25 teams left. They just had a great performance beating Northwestern 42-24. So I got them moving up quite a bit. At 15, I got the other undefeated team in the middle, 5-0 BYU, preseason number 17. It was the bye week for BYU. This is the team I have moving up the most. 14, Texas A&M, 5-1, preseason number 25. Beat Missouri 41-10. Great win for Texas A&M. 13, I have Notre Dame. They're 4-1, preseason number 14. Bye week. Another bye week team. 12, LSU, 4-1. 11, Clemson, 4-1, preseason number 15. Beat Florida State 29-14. Another great win for Clemson. Iowa State, I have in the top 10, 5-0. I think this is another point where, it's an undefeated team, which really helps with all these teams, taking their first losses. They beat Baylor this week 43-21. At 9, I got Ole Miss. Great bounce back for Ole Miss after the tough loss last week. They are 5-1 now. Preseason number 12 beat South Carolina 27-3. South Carolina's a good team, and on the road, Ole Miss was able to go out there and win by 24. Then at 8, I got Tennessee. They're 4-1. Preseason number 4 lost to Arkansas 19-14. It's a tough loss, but Tennessee's still a great team. I think they'll bounce back. At 7, I got Alabama. They're 4-1. Preseason number 1 lost to Vanderbilt 40-35. Just like Tennessee, I think Alabama will bounce back. I think with the new, with some new changes to college football, I think it's a little bit easier to lose in college football than it was before. I mean, honestly, I've heard people say this, and I don't think they're wrong. I don't know if we'll see an undefeated team, in the playoffs this year. I mean, right now, the only team I look at that I think potentially could end up undefeated are the Texas Longhorns, and they got hard games like Oklahoma and Georgia coming up. So there's a lot of teams that have some hard matchups. All right, at 6, I got Miami 6-0, preseason number 8, beat California 38-39, great comeback win, down 35-10. 5, I got Georgia 4-1, preseason number 5, beat Auburn 31-13. Georgia's still struggling a little bit. Georgia's having a really hard time in the first half of these ball games. Only 14 points for Georgia in the first half of this ball game. Scored 17 in the second half. Georgia is being outscored in the first half of their ball games this year, 36-30. But then in the second half, they are absolutely dominating, 82. It's like 82-35. Their numbers in the first half compared to the second half, it's absolutely crazy. Georgia looks like a team that shouldn't be in the top 10 with the way they play in the first half. And they look like a team that maybe should be in the top 4 with the way they play in the second half. If they could play, honestly, Georgia might be number 1 in the country right now if they play the same way in the first half that they do in the second. At 4, I got Penn State 5-0. Previous number 7 beat UCLA 27-11. Good win for Penn State. We'll see them back in the top 4 for the first time in a while. Another team back in the top 4, and that will be Oregon. 5-0. Previous number 3, they beat Michigan. Previously number 6, they beat Michigan State 31-10. At 2, this might be a hot take, and I'm saying this as a Texas Longhorns fan. I'm a big Longhorns fan. I got the Longhorns at 2. I know a lot of people think Texas should be back in at number 1, after Alabama losing. I disagree with that. If Texas were to be playing this weekend, I would say, okay, yeah, that's fine with me. I would love to see my Longhorns back at 1, but I don't think they deserve it. And here's why. I mean, the Longhorns won the bye this week. They're getting ready to play Oklahoma, so that's the big matchup. So they get the bye before that. I don't really know if they deserve to jump up to number 1 when it's the bye week for them. I know they've been so dominant. Their defense has been outstanding. Their offense has been incredible, especially without Arch Manning over these last couple weeks. But my new number 1 is Ohio State. I watched that Ohio State-Iowa game, and I loved what I saw from Will Howard. I got to watch him a little bit at Kansas State, and this was really my first time watching him at Ohio State this year. And he was doing some great things. Threw 4 touchdown passes, ran for a touchdown. Iowa, who has a good defense, he in that Ohio State offense just absolutely killed them. Put up 35 points. The defense held Iowa to only 7 points, and they get a 28 win against a good 3-1 Iowa team. So I know Ohio State, that's a team that even though Iowa is a solid team, that's a team that they should be beating by double digits. But to beat them by 30 or nearly 30, I thought was an amazing win. And for me personally, I think Ohio State, with the win they had against Iowa, should be in the number 1 spot over a Texas Longhorns team that had the bye. The Longhorns have played capable to be number 1, but I wouldn't put them there just because of the fact that they had the bye. Maybe you get a win against Oklahoma this next week, maybe you jump to the number 1 spot, especially with Ohio State playing Oregon next week. But I'm just going to give that to Ohio State with the win that I saw them have this weekend. But I still love my Longhorns, and they're still a great team, even though I don't have them as number 1. Let me know your thoughts on my rankings predictions in the comment section, and peace out.